Okay, real talk. How often do you think about what your clothes are actually made of? Like what's touching your skin all day long? Because if you've been struggling with unexplained rashes, crazy hormonal swings, or just feeling kind of off, the problem might not only be what you're eating, it might be what you're wearing. And today we're breaking down exactly what's lurking in your leggings and why switching to natural fabrics might be one of the easiest ways to start feeling better. Welcome to the Feel Better, Live Free podcast brought to you by Thinlicious. I'm your host, Ruth Sukup, and here we'll talk about everything from the science of weight loss to practical tips for making your health a priority in the midst of a busy life. It's a little bit nerdy, a little bit funny, and a little bit revolutionary. So buckle up, friend, because it's about to get real. Hey there, and welcome back to the Feel Better, Live Free podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ruth Sukup, and I'm the founder of Thinlicious and the creator of the Thin Adapted System, as well as the New York Times bestselling author of 7 books. And today we are chatting with Melita Cyril, the CEO and founder of Q for Quinn, an amazing apparel brand that creates skin-safe basics for the whole family using the highest quality natural fibers and dyes. Melita's journey started when she couldn't find a single pair of socks gentle enough for her son's eczema. And what began as a mama on a mission has now turned into a powerful movement towards clean, chemical-free clothing that actually supports your health. In this episode, we're going to dive into the surprising toxins hiding in your wardrobe, the truth about natural fabrics like bamboo and modal, and why your skin and your hormones might be begging for a detox that has nothing to do with food. I can't wait for you to hear this conversation. It's actually super interesting. So let's get right into it. Melita, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Me too. Thank you for having me on your show, Ruth. I am very excited.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. So let's just kind of start with hearing your background. I would love to know and share who you are, what you do, and how you got to be doing what you are now.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Melita. I am the founder and CEO of Q for Quinn and Basics by Quinn. I grew up in Sri Lanka. I did my undergrad in the UK before moving to North America about 13 years ago. I worked in corporate for many years and I was really burnt out. And we wanted to start a family at the time. This was about 9 years ago now. And I couldn't get pregnant. I was still pretty young, so that was surprising to me, but I think it was because my body was under so much stress. And so I ended up quitting my job at the time and wanting to take some time off. And that's when I did get pregnant with my son. And 6 months into the journey, it was, my first time being a mom, very overwhelmed with everything. But 6 months in, I started getting an itch to do something. And to do something with, just kind of, my dad's an entrepreneur, so I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I had these various ideas. And at the time, he suffered from eczema. So I was looking for organic cotton clothing as much as possible for him. I found that organic cotton onesies, pajamas were more prevalent, but I couldn't find cotton socks that were gentle enough for his skin. And that's when I had the idea for Q for Quinn. We were going to make gentle organic cotton socks that were good enough to put on my son's feet. He was about 9 months at the time. And I started my journey looking at sock formulations and how to produce socks and where to source socks from, but also importantly, what materials to use, where they come from, and how that impacts not only my son's skin health, but eventually the skin health of our customers and adults as well. So we started the company with kids socks, and I say it was just me at the time. And that was 2018 where I started we launched Q for Quinn with a collection of kid socks. And we had a number of parents who bought our socks because they had the kids had similar skin conditions and issues. And the more research we did, the more surprised we were with what we were finding on how harmful some of these synthetic materials can be for not only our skin health, but our long-term health. The toxic dyes used in a lot of synthetic socks and even conventional cotton. And that sort of, laid the foundations for our mission that we have today to really create gentle, organic socks and underwear that are gentle enough on our skin and also our planet. And two, 7 years in, two more kids after that, here I am today. We have a sister brand, also Basics by Quinn. And yeah, I'm excited to talk more today about fabrics and everything I can share with the research that I've done and the changes I'm making even for my own family here.
Yeah, and I'm excited to talk about this because honestly, this is not something, I mean, I spend a lot of time, right, like doing research and talking about hormones, and I would talk a lot about food and medications and all sorts of health conditions, but I haven't really spent a lot of time thinking about clothing, right? Like that is an area that I have not even ventured into. And as you're talking, I'm already like freaked out, like, oh my gosh, what am I wearing? That is like, because you think about like if you're spending this amount of time really
Yes.
trying to get healthy and trying
Yes.
to improve your health and getting rid of plastics and all, plastic food containers and candles and all of these things that are like wreaking havoc on your hormones, all these environmental toxins. And then you go into clothing, and this is an area I have not even ventured into yet, so I'm
Yeah.
like a little
That's
bit
surprising.
excited and a little bit scared because I'm like, oh, do I have to throw away all my clothes now?
No, 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 no. And it is very, I mean, why would you think about your clothes being toxic, right? It's like the
Yeah.
last thing you would think about. So you're not the only one. And even I was very surprised. And our journey is still ongoing, even as a family, on trying to move away from synthetics altogether. But there are certain things you can do in certain types of clothing where it can make more of a material difference.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Like, give me the basic rundown. Like, what are good fabrics? What are bad fabrics? How do you like? Where do you even start with this?
Sure. So we try to use natural fabrics, not just for Q for Quinn, but even as for our family, natural fabrics, because there's several benefits of natural fabrics, not only because they're usually clean, and there's also a distinction between conventional natural fabrics like cotton and organic, and I can get into kind of the differences. But natural fabrics tend to be cleaner. They have less toxins. They are processed with less toxic dyes, and they also shed less microplastics. They're also more breathable, and more. They have these natural properties like breathability, moisture wicking. And also antibacterial compared to synthetics. So if you're taking underwear, for example, your synthetic underwear might be contributing to recurring UTIs, to yeast infections, because they are usually a breeding ground for bacteria and they trap bacteria and moisture. So there's like a whole facet of like, I guess, health concerns that can come up depending on what you're wearing, especially in more sensitive areas like for your undergarments. And so I always say yes, health is also important in considering a switch to natural fabrics, but also just your well-being and how you feel like if you're wearing clothes that are truly breathable
Yeah,
as well.
which is a big deal when you live in Florida, like I do.
Yeah, yeah,
Need
exactly.
breathable, light clothing.
Yes,
But
exactly.
okay, so go over the natural fabrics with me. Cotton,
Yes,
obviously,
yes.
and then wool
There's
is
wool.
considered
Yeah,
natural.
there's
Okay.
linen, flax
Linen,
linen, hemp.
hemp.
Yes.
Okay.
There's also silk that is
So,
considered natural fabrics. And basically, what we have learned and what we do at Q for Quinn is we only use fabrics that can be certified by GOTS, which is the Global Organic Textile Standards. So GOTS certifies any organically grown fabrics. They don't certify modal, bamboo, tencel. There is an important distinction because while they are sourced from natural sources, the process to turn the pulp into fibers is actually a synthetic chemical process, which is why GOTS does not actually certify them. So I'm getting into kind of technical details here because that's what influences our decision on what materials we use because we follow the GOTS standards because that is the highest standards for truly organic processing and organic fibers.
Okay. And why would you want organic versus non-organic? Like what are they doing differently with organic cottons
Sure.
versus non-organic?
Sure. So the biggest difference is the way the cotton, take cotton for example, is cotton grown and processed. So conventional cotton uses a lot of pesticides, which are not allowed in organic farming practices. A lot of chemical intensive pesticides. Um, Now it's not just the farm and how the fibers are farmed, but also the entire processing. When you look at GOTS, it's not just, again, the fabric or the farm that it GOTS certifies. GOTS certifies the entire supply chain. So from when the cotton plant is converted to fabrics in mills, that mill is also certified to make sure the processing, any processing they're using, any agents that they're using in processing is clean and organic materials as much as possible. The dyes that we use in our clothing, that's a big difference between how conventional cotton and garments are manufactured using these dyes. There's no kind of strict standards on what is allowed in some of these dyes, whereas GOTS will approve there are GOTS approved dyes for what you could use to claim a product is GOTS certified, for example. And every step of the supply chain. I also want to mention that the nice thing about GOTS is that it's not just on the garment itself and the materials. It's also the people who make the garments. Are they paid a living wage, not just a minimum wage? Do they have safe working conditions? Environmental factors, like what is the wastage of that is involved in all these steps. How is every player in the steps more responsible towards the environment? Are the dyes that I use not only it could be bad for the workers, for us, but also for the environment. So by I guess purchasing a GOTS certified fabric, you're not only purchasing something with a clean guarantee, but also has a high social standard and environmental standard as well. Um, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, well, it does, but it brings up a lot of other questions. So first question that I have off the top of my head is like, how do you like this is brand new information to me, right? And I'm somebody who's like pretty well versed in healthy stuff.
Yeah.
And how do you even begin to like find clothing that is GOTS certified? Is there a GOTS website that you can go to and then that will tell you like here shop at these places, or
Yeah.
do you have to like look at certain clothes, like if a place is GOTS certified, will it have it prominently displayed? Like how this is I've never even heard of this certification.
Yeah. Yeah. And think of this as also the USDA for textiles.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Well,
just
we
how
don't trust the USDA here on Feel Better Live Free,
I won't go into that, but it is like one of the few textile standards that certifies organic materials. But to answer your question with regards to how do you even find GOTS certified, so there is a GOTS website. You can totally, choose your country and look at how many brands are GOTS certified. That's actually how we also find our suppliers, looking at manufacturers who are GOTS certified. But there's not that many brands, to be honest. And so if you're choosing, okay, I need to only buy GOTS certified products, that's probably going to be very difficult for you.
you're gonna be wearing
Um,
some ugly ass clothes. That's what
yeah,
you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I like the standards, and there's a reason why we chose to be certified too, but it's not as prevalent. So, personally, yes, I look for GOTS as much as possible. So, usually a GOTS certified product will have a GOTS logo, and there will be a license number for the certification as well. So, that's how you can authenticate that this is a GOTS product. There's a logo. So, I know we're on video, but for audio, if you Google GOTS logo, it's pretty you can sort of see what it looks like. So when you go shopping, and the good news is we're seeing more and more products online and in stores with the GOTS logo. But if you can't find something that's GOTS, look for organic cotton, look for natural materials. There are also other standards that you might that I certainly like recognize, and if I can't find something that's GOTS, also at a reasonable price, because you know, it
Expensive.
is our products included, they are at a higher price point because the entire
Yeah.
supply chain is certified. So, if you want more budget-friendly options, there's also another standard called Ecotex 100. And that standard is not necessarily for organic materials. They also certify synthetics, but they guarantee that the fabric is free from 100 harmful substances.
Okay. So
And
like GOTS is kind of the number one, like the
yeah,
highest standard
gold standard, if you'd
if you
like.
want the
Yeah.
gold standard. Then the silver standard is what did you say? What did you say?
Ecotex 100.
Echo text. And we will include all of this in the show notes so that if you can't remember exactly what it is, you can look it
Yes.
up on the show notes and we'll put links to all the websites and stuff that we're talking about too. So that's
Yes.
silver standard. So
Yes.
what's bronze standard then? Like
So without the
what's the next best?
certification, if they still, the bigger players like Gap, they do make clothing in organic cotton. And it's up to
Okay.
the consumer how much you trust them. But like, I will still buy from the Gap for certain things, for my kids. And because it's a better alternative than buying synthetics. So for as much as possible, I look for organic cotton. And then worst case, we do conventional cotton, but really try very hard to stay away from conventional cotton. And one thing I want to add is, especially for my kids, I also buy a lot, or not buy, but get a lot of hand-me-downs, and I love that because I get some assurance that it's been washed so many times that anything to be concerned about could be washed away, as
Oh,
well.
interesting.
Yes, yes,
So buying secondhand is a way to be more affordable, but still get rid of some of
exactly,
that stuff. Oh, that's
exactly.
interesting. I like that. So what are the things that you should be avoiding at all costs? Like
Synthetic, anything made from
what's the
synthetic
crap
fabric.
standard? Anything synthetic? Is it synthetic? Is that
Yeah, especially if it doesn't come with an Ecotex certified certification, because then
okay?
at least with the Ecotex, you kind of know that there are some, really harmful substances that are removed or not like they're tested for these.
Yeah.
But any synthetic without that certification, I would stay away from.
So that
It's
includes like polyester. What else are synthetic?
polyester, nylon, polyamide.
Okay.
Um, yes, yes. I can't speak too much about some of the newer fabrics like tencel, lyocell. Lyocell is tencel, modal, and bamboo. I just know that they're not processed the same way as organic fibers are. And some, like in the case of bamboo, the chemical processing is actually quite environmentally unfriendly.
Really?
Um,
And you would think bamboo is so
yeah.
sounds it sounds so healthy.
Yeah, but it's not. And
Interesting.
it's like, and there's been a lot of claims about greenwashing with bamboo in particular. But like I said before, we as a company, we stick with those fabrics that got certified because that gives us, or me personally, the assurance that there's not, anything harmful going on here. And there's full transparency across the supply chain,
Yeah.
which we like. Yeah, but
Interesting.
yeah,
So would this go for like, I would assume so, but like your sheets as well, right? Like if
yeah,
you're sleeping in sheets every night, you want them to be organic cotton. And
yes,
do those also fall under the GOT certification? So you should buy
yes,
sheets that are GOT
exactly.
certified.
Exactly. The way I see it, like if you
Now I
are
got to replace all my sheets too. Man, this is going to be an
again,
expensive
like
podcast
choose,
episode.
yeah, choose cotton as much as possible too, especially if it comes with certification. There's also like certifications like Better Cotton Initiative, which, I've bought from as well. Again, like we are not in the business of testing all of these, so I cannot tell you for certain that it doesn't contain something,
Yeah.
cotton, linen, it's also better because you're just gonna find it more breathable. And for me, like as a teenager in my early 20s, I was in polyester everything.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, once I started making the switch after all the research that I did, it's so difficult for me to go back to polyester. And
Yeah.
I just feel like I need to get like, unfortunately, there's not a lot of options for athletic wear, and I play sports, and that's been the biggest challenge. To
Yeah. So like Lululemon is the disaster.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they test
Well,
going on.
wait till I tell my
I'm
teenagers
not
they're gonna
making any
die.
claims. I'm not
Can't
making.
have this anymore, girls. Toxic chemicals.
And,
Yeah. If you
and
have wait, I know you don't have teenagers yet, but wait till you have teenagers because
I
Lululemon is basically the end all be all.
I know. And already it's like even to have that battle with my son, like he's playing basketball and like all his jerseys are made from synthetics. And I'm like telling
Yeah.
him, this is why it's bad for you. And like maybe wear it on top of a cotton shirt or something like that. And like
Yeah.
it's tough. It's tough because there's all this influence, right? And like this is the trend. And yeah, and like I said, like I don't want to be making any claims here. There is just science to back all these. The studies have found BPA in synthetic fibers, in synthetic clothing. There's a lot of known brands where they found BPA in socks, in leggings, in bras, sports bras.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
And
and
there. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more. What the chemicals are that are in these synthetic
yes.
fabrics, and how basically how they're impacting our hormones and our overall health, because that's a big deal, especially for women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, when we're trying so hard to get our hormones under control. Like here, like you think you're doing great, you're eating all the right things, and now you find out that like half your clothes are contributing to hormonal imbalance. So
Yes,
tell me,
100%.
tell me all the things. Like, what are the chemicals we got to be aware of, and what are they doing?
Yeah. So studies have found a few. So BPA being a big one, phthalates because they're used to make plastic more bendable. Lead, even in baby products and baby clothing. There's some of the dyes
Lead.
yes, yes,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Some of the
terrible.
dyes, yeah, some of the dyes used in polyester synthetic clothing can be pretty toxic. There are bans against there's this a class of dyes called azo dyes, and they've been linked to compounds that are deemed oh my God, my head, that are carcinogenous, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And so there's the dyes as part of it, not just the fabrics. Also, anything that's like stain water resistant usually has PFAS as well. And so that's why you just got to be careful also with like, we get asked by customers all the time, can you make period underwear? But to make something that is absorbent and moisture wicking and like resistant so that it doesn't leak, to make it leak proof, I'm just worried about all the materials we'll need to use and whether that's safe
Mm.
for us.
Oh, so now I
Yeah.
got to get rid of my period underwear too. I was so proud of myself. I've been using this period underwear and it's great, right?
I'm
Got my
sorry,
Diva
I
cup,
feel like I'm
never
just
have to buy
costing you
pads,
so much
never have to buy
money.
tampons, and now I'm so screwed. What am I supposed to use? Like
Listen,
cotton,
there are some
cotton
brands that
pads.
have, yeah, there are some brand. I would ask the brands if they've been tested for PFAS
Okay.
before getting rid of it, right? And
Okay.
so I would, as a consumer, this is the power we have to ask the right questions to brands, and we get asked as well, like go into the details of our products, right? And so um, I think just knowing that these are the different harmful areas and like prioritizing where you choose to first get started, right? Like, yeah, I would
Yeah.
prioritize underwear, anything you're sleeping with in for long periods of time, where you're spending a lot of time in while wearing, right? Because that's where maybe more of the absorption can happen. And
Yeah.
again, like there's not a lot of studies to prove that we can just absorb all these chemicals through our skin. But if you think about it, I mean, if you're choosing to go more organic with skincare for this reason, like
Right.
some clothing matters, right? For
Right.
the same
Yeah.
reason.
Well, it would make sense underwear because there's more moisture and stuff that would be more that would be soaking into your skin. Like, are there other areas of the body like like they say for essential oils you should put it on your feet because your feet absorb everything. So then would make sense. Like socks are a big deal.
Yes.
So is that kind of why you started with underwear and socks because it's the
Yeah.
closest?
Yeah, so we started with socks because I couldn't find organic cotton
Yeah.
socks for my son. But then the more research that I did, and I didn't know anything about sock manufacturing materials, that wasn't my background when I started, but I wanted to create something that was safe enough for my son. And so that's when I started doing more and more research, and there were more and more studies that were coming out that talked about how these synthetic socks and clothing made from synthetic materials had all these toxins and chemicals.
Mhm.
And so that made us think, okay, where to go to next? Underwear. And so we did kids underwear, then we ended up starting a line of women's underwear, which we are growing and expanding into. Because the good news is I think more and more people are becoming aware. And certainly if you're having recurring UTIs, if you are having skin conditions, or even if you're like we have customers who are allergic to polyester and nylon
Mm.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And so then you're making the switch out of necessity. But I guess what we're also uncovering is that it's just better for our long-term health to be
Right.
less,
Right.
and you know this a lot, to be less exposed to these toxins, right?
Right. Well, I mean, it's like going down the rabbit hole, right? Like, and
Yeah.
I felt like I talk about this all the time. I started my whole health journey not because I was like cared about toxins. I never even thought about toxins, right? I just
Yeah.
wanted to be skinny and
Yeah.
lose weight. And
Yeah.
then you start going down there and you realize like, oh my gosh, it's not just about my weight at all. It's about how I feel overall, and the food is making a difference. And then you
Yeah.
start going down to the rabbit hole even more of like, oh, there's all these environmental toxins, and then now there's all these clothing toxins, and now,
I
I don't
know.
know
I
where I'm
know.
like,
It's a lot.
I'm
It's
getting so
honestly a
stressed
lot.
out
It
from
is
all this
stressed out.
stuff.
And I can tell you, I'm stressed out myself. I have three kids and I'm trying to be healthier, but it's just overwhelming because it's like, and it's also it's not budget friendly at all, right?
No.
And I get it. It is very hard. And like you said, you have teenagers, and I'm already starting to, when you say no to something, kids like, for example, for the longest time, I had to fight the battle between giving my kids a stainless steel lunchbox versus a plastic lunchbox.
Yeah.
And now, my son has finally accepted it and moved on to something else. But
They'll always find something. Kids are great. They're like
yeah,
toxic magnets.
exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
No, but it's true. But it's true. But I also find that it does make a difference, right? Like I've noticed that with food, and over the last 4 years or so since I've like made this change, like the way that my kids eat now and what
Yeah.
they crave and everything has really changed without me having to be like hardcore, like, no, you're not
Yeah.
eating that. Like I don't really believe in that, especially for teenage girls, right? Like you
Yes.
gotta just let them be normal and stuff. But like it has made an impact. And so hopefully over time, especially you're lucky you're starting younger, that over
Yeah.
time they kind of start to they absorb it, whether or not they always like it in the moment is
Yeah.
yet to
Yeah,
be.
you're totally right. And that's how I gotta keep going with this and trying to explain to them, the reasoning behind it. It's not that I'm just want to just fight you on this.
Yeah.
There's a reason for this, and this is what I think. And yeah, so
So you talked about like secondhand clothing and
Mhm.
like stuff that's been washed many, many times. And so that can kind of help. So I would assume that whatever you do bring into your house, like if you are
Yeah.
buying, even if you're buying new clothes, maybe washing it multiple times would be good. Now,
Yes.
does that work for synthetic or does that only work for natural
I hope it works for
fibers?
synthetics because we've also had some synthetics still.
Yeah. So you just wash them a lot to try to get rid of.
Yeah, I would never wear it without washing. Even any clothes, I typically don't. But I know that there are studies that say that it can be washed out over time, but some compounds might still remain.
Yeah.
Um, and in any case, when you also wash, there's a concern of shedding microplastics and it contaminating other clothing. So if you are washing polyester clothes, I would wash them separately from your cotton clothes. And yeah, I mean, I don't have all this. I don't think there's enough research that has been conducted to understand how much is actually washed away.
Yeah.
How much can you get rid of?
Being absorbed.
So even
But
when I hand-me-downs, I still prioritize cotton. Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so let's summarize all of this stuff because we've talked about a lot of things. So number one is go for GOTS. That's like if you're
Yeah,
trying,
if you
like
can
if
find
you're
it.
buying stuff new, check GOTS website first.
Yes.
Try to buy organic, fully certified as much as possible. If you
Yes.
can't find what you need there, but you need something new, then number two is, I keep forgetting the name of the other one that you said.
Ecotex. I will send it
Ecotex.
all to you so you can include it in the show notes.
Yep, Ecotex is number two, so that's silver standard. Bronze standard is just trying to like shop wherever and buy
Yeah,
organic
it's a cotton, organic cotton
but
without the
cotton,
certifications.
natural
Yeah,
fibers as much as possible,
right.
avoiding synthetics as much as possible,
Yes.
and then washing your stuff
Yes.
as much as possible, or buying secondhand and washing it as much as possible to
Yes.
get all those, as many chemicals out as possible. That
Yes.
sounds like, that actually sounds manageable to me. Like I have
Yeah.
to break it down into steps of, because it does, like I think about my closet right now, right? Like I could go through my closet and basically get rid of half my clothes,
Yeah.
or I could kind of start to phase out, like as you're bringing in stuff.
Exactly. That's how I do it. Start with articles like underwear, your
Yeah.
bras, and then and socks, sleepwear, like your sheets, for
Yeah,
example.
that makes sense. So
And
you
then
guys do bras too?
we do. We just have the one style of bralette, and we're
Okay.
we're working on a sports bra. We're also working on a nursing bra, as
Nice.
well, and a more traditional pad bra. So sometimes some of the blockers that we run into is, you do need to use a small amount of synthetics, maybe even for the bra closure. And some of
Yeah.
these don't exist, bra closures with organic materials. And
Yeah,
so,
I wouldn't think so. I mean,
yeah,
I try to avoid wearing bras as much as possible, I'll be
yes,
honest.
me too.
Free the girls. That's my
I know.
philosophy.
Yeah, exactly. And if you could get away with it, hey,
Well, I
get
didn't
it.
used to be, but then I lost 49 pounds and now my boobs are really small. So it works
I
out.
love it. I love that. I'm the same way. Like, especially if you're working from home and have anywhere to be, and like, yeah, I'm not gonna wear a bra when I don't have to.
You know, my poor teenage girls
How
are
can
always
we
like,
feel? Yeah.
Mom, wear a bra. Your nipples are showing. I'm like, oh, free the girls, girls,
Yeah,
free the girls.
exactly.
Someday you'll
Yeah.
understand.
It's kind of sad that we have to even feel like we have to, right? And so, yeah, but definitely when you're playing sports and stuff, you kind of need that support a little bit just to, I don't know,
That
we're so
is
used
true.
to
That is true. I love it. Well, Melita, this was so interesting and so helpful. And of course, we're going to link to all this stuff in the show notes. But tell us a little bit more about how we can get our socks and underwear from your company. Where do we go? Like, and I think you have a promo code for us. So tell us about that.
Sure. So you can find us at www.qforquinn.com. So that's QFORQUINN.com. And you get 10% off with code LIVEFREE. And that'll be valid from 30 days after this episode airs.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for Ruth for giving me this opportunity
You're welcome.
to have this conversation with you. And yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at hello@qforquinn.com, and I'll follow up with all the links.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited, and I'm excited to swap out my underwear because I feel like that needs to happen ASAP. Now I got a new thing to worry about, new thing to obsess over. My husband will be so excited about it. No, I love it. Thank you so much, Melita. This was awesome and super, super informative.
Likewise, I had a lot of fun. Thanks so much, Ruth.
All right, guys, that about does it for this episode. Remember that you will find the link to Melita's website, Q for Quinn, as well as all of the other websites that we talked about in the show notes. So be sure to check that out. And if you know anyone else who might be interested in this topic, especially a mom dealing with sensitive skin or someone just trying to clean up their lifestyle or balance their hormones, please be sure to send it their way. And then, of course, be sure to subscribe to the podcast to be notified of future episodes. And I will see you back here for another new episode very soon.